Well, in the never-ending quest to keep this car in tip-top condition, I have a project for today, which I think is going to be kind of annoying. The F30 differential is very, very similar to the E90 diff. This one is very leaky. The output shaft seals are leaking. In order to do that, you basically have to remove the diff. So instead of doing that, these seals are kind of expensive. What I did was I sourced a 2,000 mile replacement from 230i. Excuse me. As far as I can tell, all of these are 281 axle ratio, so this should be a direct replacement. And, you know, I mean, this car has 102,000 miles on it now, so I figure this is cheaper than a set of seals, and you take 100,000 miles off the rear end, so why not? You don't have to mess with any special tools on the front of a 328 because it uses a companion flange and a guibo. However, I think on the 35 and 40, the more powerful ones, they do thread on. They are compatible, but I prefer the companion flange like this. So anyway, I think the short of the process is going to be remove these plastic arrow covers, take out this triangular brace thingamajig, which is wagon only, maybe unconvertible too, actually. Doesn't look too hard, but they're huge Torx. Then we will unbolt the guibo, which is probably 18s. Then the rear Torx looks like an E10, pretty easy to get to. Probably a hex head inside there that holds it in. The front bolts look like they're probably 18s. The one on this side has a nut on the back, which captures the exhaust hanger. And then we'll need a pry bar to pull the axles out, but I am not confident there's enough give in those to pull them without loosening the suspension. So if that's the case, I want to do this to a point where it's not going to mess up the alignment. So it's going to be this outer lower and this outer lower. And God, maybe this one too. There is an eccentric on the inside, but not on the outside. So we'll see. I shouldn't have to pull more than just one side to get enough, you know, play in the diff. But I'm gonna go ahead and pull off these little trays and the diagonal brace, and then start working on that guibo, and we'll see what happens. Okay, let me talk you through where we are so far. The only special tool I've needed thus far is a Torx T60 to pull off the braces. If you don't have a wagon or convertible, shouldn't need anything special yet. I've got them loose and out of the way. The front bolts on the drive shaft I access just by pulling down the two little 10 mil nuts here and bending the shield down. Totally fine. Pull those out from the front, leave the flange in place. Up here, there's a 21 mil nut, and back here there's a Torx E12 or E10. You can use an 11 millimeter metric wrench to hold that still. You don't need the fancy Torx thing. Beyond that, I'm gonna go for the front mounts next, which look like they're, well, let's just find out if they're 21s. I think they're smaller. If I could keep a socket on my, yeah, those are gonna be 18s. Pretty confident of that. So the rear, I'm gonna have to push out a little bit further. I'm hoping there's enough travel to get the diff down in the front and then push it forward to get it off that bolt. I will get my transmission jack over here shortly just to get it supported. Once the front fasteners are out, and I've got this off the back and the two front bolts out, the diff will be ready to drop other than the axle shafts. And as I mentioned, you can see the front is moving now. I may have to pull some suspension componentry, at least on one side, to get the axles out. These are unfortunately, I hate the fact that these aren't companion flanges like the old cars. This is like an old 60s and 70s Mercedes design. It's just not what I'm after. So anyway, my plan for getting these out eventually is get my air chisel. But you can use a pry bar and a hammer, get it into this little groove and pound it outward. There's a little circlip on the end of these CV shafts in the diff that actually hold them in, and you got to overcome that. So not going to be super pleasant, but that's where we're at. Like I said, the only special tool I've needed so far is a Torx T60. Well, my suspicions were correct. I did end up using the pry bar and a hammer, a little bit more leverage. But yeah, in order to remove the diff, I will have to pull some suspension links to get a little more play. I should only have to do one side, but we'll see. That sucks. This is so dumb. Okay, so yeah, you only have to pull one side apart, but I took both lowers, the rear and the front upper apart, and I'm able to push it enough by hand to pull that axle shaft. Now I gotta do the other one. Holy crap. Well, now I'll have to oil up the new diff and then make sure I clean all this shit off of the old stubs, because any contamination here at all will ruin the seals on that new diff. But it's out, and yeah, I didn't have to disconnect anything on the right rear, so I'm happy about that. I did confirm the old diff is a 281. The flange looks the same, so I'm optimistic we should be in good shape. That diff has a little oil in it, but not much. I'm actually gonna wait to get it in the car to oil it up. I think, yeah, because you don't actually fill it all the way up. Well, actually, yeah, you kind of do. Fill it up to the base of the seal here. This thing is a little low. This has been leaking for quite some time. So, time to get that diff down, get the new one up on there. I'll probably spray some cleaner on all this crap just to make it look a little nicer, but yeah, she's out. Well, we're all done. Let's see if it's a success for a catastrophic failure. Again, since the diff is a perfect match, even on part number. Funny story, the ad I bought it from didn't even list it as compatible with the 328D. But, took a gamble. Turns out to definitely be compatible. Oh, it's right, the key battery is pretty much dead. Pro tip, if you hold the key right next to the column, doesn't matter if the battery's dead. Also, don't buy comfort access cars. Well, it moves. It's a good sign. Don't tell anyone that I'm driving an auto. It's my mother's car, so. Seems fine, good. Don't need a safety belt, we're on private property. Goofball car. Don't want to push her too hard with no oil temperature. Everything seems hunky-dory though. I do think this thing might need engine mounts at some point in the future. Shocking, right? An all-wheel drive BMW, engine mounts. Anywho, call that a job well done. Frankly, that wasn't too bad. I think I got here and started working, would have been 8:30. It's 11:15, including some messing around, so not too bad. Thanks for watching.